Welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna look at my top 10 of what I have been making in Planet Coaster for the past 7 years. This is more likely my blueprint part of blueprints that are on the workshop. Out of reaching 1,600 followers on my workshop by posting blueprints from Planet Coaster to now is pretty wild. The blueprints you are seeing in the background here are unfortunately the ones that didn't make the top 10, but I felt like still needed to get a little mention. There is my skeleton in the old granny cottage and the great umbrella. I have about 7,000 hours and we are gonna check out the builds that I made all back way to 2017. In this little top 10 video that I have made for you, I will explain a little bit of each creation with the presentation of it. Leave a like and let's get to it. To move to number 10 is one of my favorite builds, fantasy builds. It is the mushroom huts. The mushroom huts comes back from 2017 and I actually made an entire collection of these builds. I think I have almost 8 different uploads of different mushroom huts in every different style. You have shops, there are ride skins. One of the ride skins also got featured from Frontier back on their expo back in 2017, which were really exciting and fun. And I also got chosen to be featured creator after these mushrooms made a little shroom boom, as we called it back then. But there are many different variants on my workshop page, but these are the OGs mushroom huts, which I really feel like needed a place in my top 10. Remember, this is my personal top 10 of what I feel like is my favorite builds, but please let me know down below if you have anything not mentioned on this. And this is also only meant for blueprints and not parks, coasters, dark rides, etc. But yeah, mushroom huts on a solid place 10 here. You can also see there's a little bit of a nighttime shine on them as well. Workshop is to find down below as well. We are moving over to the next one. So on place number 9, I put in my Hunter's Market. This one is all the way from when I finished Dania back in the day in the Kattegat area. And I made a few blueprints in that area, which were just some of my best builds, I still feel like, especially when it comes to Vikings. There's another build further up on the list you will see later on, but this is definitely one of my best Viking builds I have done. This has like a lot of charm. It has mainly a lot of detailing. There's a lot of clutter. There's a lot of custom assets on this build. As you can see, the roof is custom. We got the shields that are even custom too. But I still feel like today, even 3 years later, that this build still holds on and can still work in every Viking area you see fit. I am personally super fan of this, especially the horns in the roof bit that really makes it stand out a lot. A little bit of nighttime is on here as well, and this is also a blueprint for you guys to grab on the workshop if it has any interest. All the links to these are in the description below, so you just click them and sub and you have them in your park. So yeah, the Hunter's Market on a solid place, number 9, and we're moving over to the next one. So this next one here is called the Scallywag, and that is on place number 8. This one is actually one I forgot a little bit about. It was actually when I looked through my workshop making this video that I kind of like got reminded of this guy. And this guy was literally just something I built as a blueprint. I don't really remember why or when. I think I just felt like starting to try build some new piratey stuff that were a little bit out of the ordinary, you know, a little bit more majestic. And then the Scallywag kind of came from that. I think I had a reference picture too. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen this many times on Pinterest and ArtStation. And I think I was kind of trying to get that vibe going in. But yeah, the Scallywag is one of my absolute favorite pirate blueprints that I made. And as you can see, you can definitely tell that it was back in the day when I didn't really add a lot of stuff to the whole buildings, and mainly just windows, roof and walls, and then pretty much that. Like, you could definitely add a few more things to this guy today if I wanted to, but as a standalone building as it is today, it's also very fun to see where your creativity went and how far you could build for a few years ago when we didn't have all these perks we have now with mods and Theme Maker Toolkit and Reshade and all the stuff. But yeah, the Scallywag is definitely comes up on a solid 8th place here. I actually had him higher in the start, but the more I looked at it and all the other blueprints, I kind of like put him lower on the list. But yeah, he's also on the workshop to grab if you guys need a nice solid blueprint. Then the Scallywag here on a solid 8th place will do the trick. Will do the trick for you. And this build also makes me kind of miss some piratey stuff, and actually maybe try to go in again and do some more piratey stuff at another time. But yeah, we are moving over to our 7th place, which is the Babylonian boats. These guys were a little bit of an interesting build, as you see. They were made for Floss's Hanging Gardens project in Planet Coaster. And she asked me to do some boats for her, and I was kind of saying, okay, let's try to do that. In the meantime, I've built a lot of houseboats and airships and etc. for Blackmire. So I was kind of like in the boat mood anyway. So she asked me, and this is what kind of like came out of it. And I gotta say though, even though it's a smaller build compared to all the others, these Babylonian boats were really fun to build, and I feel like they came out incredibly nice. And I feel like these guys definitely needs a spot on my top 10, because I have such a great time building these. And the way I've used the pieces here, like with the gold trim pieces, the adventure, the spooky wooden pieces, and all the clutter pieces on board is really something I like. And that's why I felt like they needed to be a 7th place in my top 10. To continue the list, we are number 6. We are at the Script Seeker's Lodge. And there's a reason why this specific cottage here, or lodge, is as high as it is. I have made tons of these back. Like, I have 15 cottages on my workshop, and I had to put 1 or 2 in this list here. So my favorite one of all of them is the Script Seeker's Lodge. There's something about this guy. I remember building this after we visit Efteling, and I was very inspired, and I wanted to build like this super intricate fantasy build cottage. And I kind of had this in mind, this whole like Pinocchio stage series in Efteling with the fish on the side. There's this building that has like this super nice trimmed wood pillars and all that stuff in the front. And then you have like this glass you can see through. And that was kind of like the whole goal with this, that I want this to be like a showcase lodge where people could go in and they could take a look. And I went all aboard and made like the interior and lit light. And you can see like what is also the reason why is the lighting. This building here has some of the best like fantasy lighting I have done, and that is also why it is so high on the list. And it's personally a favorite one of mine, this build here. As I told you, I have made tons of cottages, but this one for me speaks out because it has this like amazing lighting, and that is something I have never really been able to achieve again after a few times. So this one really goes far, and that is why it is a number 6 on my top 10 of blueprints I have done in the past. Alright, number 5 is what I told you guys is another Viking build. This is the Shield Master's House. This is also from Dania, and this is also one of the builds where I was like, this one definitely needs to get mentioned as well in my top 10. And what I like about this guy is that it is very generic, it is very authentic to Viking builds in the first place, and also having all these shields in the stuff in the front really makes it pop out, and it really tells a story that this is where shields are getting made, as you can see on a lot of these pictures. There's some of these buildings that has interior, and then there's someone that is not, but mainly all of them, what they have is they have lighting. They have nighttime lighting, they have day, and also a lot of clutter and all this stuff. And also this is also Theme Maker Toolkit free. Mainly all the top 10 here are Theme Maker Toolkit free, because most of these blueprints have been made before the time. And I have mainly been working on a lot of parks projects, so that is why a lot of blueprint hasn't really been put out. But this is my solid number 5, the Shield Master's House, which is in my Dania park. And I also have tons of other Viking builds on my workshop if that's any interest whatsoever, and if you're building something yourself. Yes, we are moving towards number 4. So on number 4 we got Fairy Tale Square, which is also from my Megapark project Dania. This one is also from 2019, and this is specifically dedicated to Hans Christian Andersen from Dania. So I made this crazy fairy tale square with a lot of detailed buildings and like having this really like a fairy tale and fantasy situation. And it has also full interior. It has 3 shops. It has a little bit of backside too as well. I went completely all aboard with this guy, and it has a lot of custom things. But as you can see, we also kept it cool with like having normal roofs, normal windows, etc. But this build is definitely something that would work perfectly in any park, especially if you have like a fantasy situation area. Then you are 100% guaranteed that this will light up your area. But yeah, personally, my favorite one, because it is also takes me back to when I built the Hans Christian Andersen, the whole fantasy fairy tale area that I did in Dania, and I had a lot of fun making this, and I've always wanted to make something similar to this again, because it really has a lot of potential and it really has a lot of charm. As you can see here on the back side too, there's a little reading and sitting area, and also some nighttime lighting. And what I really like is the clock tower with the person coming out and ringing the bell. So yeah, I really like this a lot. And it definitely deserves to be in the top 5. And now we are slowly moving towards my personal, very personal top 3, which was very difficult for me to choose. But here was Fairy Tale Square at a place number 4, before we move over to our 3rd place. We got the Warchief's Hut. This is from my Orc collection. At some point I felt like I wanted to try build something very different from what I usually did, like some more evil fantasy stuff. And the Warchief's Hut was one of the first builds I did in this series here. And I am actually incredibly proud of this build. This is built without the Maker Toolkit. It is built with mainly adventure pieces, as you can see, and the vanilla pieces. And I had a little small series. I built about 4 or 5 builds of this, and each build got better and better for each time. As you also maybe remember, we have 2 Orc builds in my top 3, and this is definitely number 3 for my personal choice. I am super fan of this, and I'm actually super bothered that I never really took the chance to do a proper park or ride experience or something with this specifically, because it had a lot of potential, and I think to evolve and to explore this theming more, there's a lot of stuff to do. But unfortunately, it only became to 4 blueprints, which is a series that is, or a collection that you also can find. Here is number 3, the Warchief's Hut, which is definitely one of my top favorite builds I have done in Planet Coaster. Second place goes to one of my absolute favorite builds I have done in this game. This is the Treehouse of Dreams, and as you all know, I had a niche of making tree houses and cabins for mostly a year or a little bit longer than that, for a long time in Planet Coaster. And I've just kind of like faded out that kind of niche, but then I kind of slowly got back to it. And then I did this Treehouse of Dreams, which is somewhat a new build compared to a lot of the others I have done. And what I really like about this build is the whole intricate build of this, and all the hanging elements we got, the lamps, the clocks, we got the little blobs from the tree itself. And then I just quite slowly try to build around it and see what's doable and what is not doable. This is also before we got the Theme Maker Toolkit stuff, and or at least before I started to use it or become very addicted to it. But this is the Treehouse of Dreams, which also are featured by Frontier, and it's really just a stunning build for my perspective. It's when I look at what I have done in the past of tree houses and stuff. And yeah, I'm a big fan of this, and you can clearly see that it also has a very nice magical fantasy vibe at night, and it really stands out as well in your park, maybe even as a centerpiece or you can even have it as a climbing tree situation for your kids or for the guests in your parks. Has a lot of potential to do whatever you please with it, and I'm a personal big fan of this. This is definitely one of my favorite builds I have ever done in Planet Coaster, if we're looking at blueprints. If you're curious to see other top 10 of mine, let me know down below, and also remember to give the video a like. And before we reach the number 1, my all-time favorite blueprint build I have done in Planet Coaster. But this was the Treehouse of Dreams, which you also can find on the workshop. Now we are presenting the first blueprint of my top 10, friends. This is the Orc Fortress. I told you when we were presenting the Warchief's hut that I had one more, and this is the one that takes the first place. I am personally a huge fan of this build myself, and I love how like vibrant and how strong the red color here is to represent evil, like the evilish part of being orcs in this case here. I didn't really have a lot of inspiration making these. One kind of took another, and I just kind of like find a groove to how to build these, and as you can see, it just took a turn, and I kind of like got through to make this super amazing, majestic Orc Fortress here. It is a very difficult build, I agree, to kind of like place into a park in that matter. But if you're doing experience ride, like a long coaster or a dog ride, etc., this ride or creation will fit perfectly for that case. So I am very, very, very happy for how this creation ended up looking back in the day. And I think the Orcs collection series is 100% one of my top favorite series I have ever done in this game. Do you agree? Let me hear down below, guys. And I hope you enjoyed this video of my top 10 of blueprints in Planet Coaster. And as mentioned, let me know down below if you want to see more of this kind. Then I will go back in and find some more top 10s for you guys to see. Have a great day, everyone, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. And let me hear if you agree on my top 10. Take care. Bye now.